No problem. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to Mark's motivational podcast for another Authors Tuesday. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by another author, Patrick Osborne. It's great to have you on the podcast today, Patrick. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. So we'll probably just start off the podcast today. If you want to just give a bit of background for the listeners, your story of how you became a writer, and it's a bit of a backstory, if you don't mind, please. It'd be great.
Yeah, no problem at all. Well, I suppose like I would have gone to school now in Brunswick Street, St. Paul's, CBS. So the school around the corner, as people would remember, Paddy Crosby's.
Yeah.
And I suppose where I grew up, like most Dubliners, that we were immersed with storytellers, just people always telling stories, spoofs and the whole lot. And you pick up things, and I love then retelling them stories then to other people. So that's the love of storytelling began there and then, and as for the writing, I suppose it was years later that I started to do short stories. And then I had this kind of thing where I said, you know what, I was watching television, I was watching different bits and pieces, and I was saying, there's not a lot about people like me or where I grew up. Like Boys from the Black Stuff would have been a big show when I was a young kid. And we kind of thought it was a comedy, but it wasn't. It was a very serious show with comedy bits and pieces thrown through. And I just loved that. Now, as I said, I would have been only probably 12, 13 when that was on. And kind of, I think the whole of Ireland seemed to be stuck into it as well. The teams resonated, even though it was based in Liverpool, it resonated in kind of any working class area. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to write stuff for television. So I went to a Temple Bar film base, and we're based in Temple Bar, and I started studying the art of screenwriting. Now, I'm a horticulturist by profession, so I trained in the National Botanic Gardens there in Glasnevin.
Cool,
so I've no formal training in writing. I didn't go to Trinity or all of these places to do writing. I went, as a horticulture was my kind of route to employment. And then from there, then I would have done a series of courses, either in film base for screenwriting, and then later on in the Irish Writers' Centre in Parnell Square. And a small bit out in UCD, night classes and stuff like that. So I wrote this story, and I thought, this is brilliant. I'm going to send this to BBC, because when you write a screenplay, there's very few places you can send, as they call it, an unsolicited manuscript.
Okay,
BBC are very open that way. So if anyone out there has a screenplay, anyone has that kind of ambitions to see how far it goes, check out the BBC. Brilliant. They have the BBC writers room, specific page, give fabulous tips and and hints and all this and what you should do. So I sent it off to BBC thinking, I'm going to get a phone call next week saying that we want to buy this film you wrote, but it doesn't work like that. It takes a long time. And then I suppose the thing about myself and a lot of people in my situation, it's not the world where we were brought up in. It's not like I had known nobody in TV or I didn't know any other writers at the time. None of my friends or peers were going down this line. So it was on new ground, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, immersed myself in it. And in fairness to BBC, it took, like they do warn you, it takes at least about 2 months. And they come back and they give you, what they do is they read 10 pages. If you send them a script, they read 10 pages. If they don't like the 10 pages, if it doesn't grab them, thanks, but no thanks.
Well, that's
but
fair
enough. Because they're getting thousands every year. Whereas if it grabs them or something about it they like, they will read the next, and then it's sent to, they have like specific readers. So in fairness, it got a couple of stages, but as I said, I was an unknown. And what BBC are looking for as well is they're looking for new voice, new style. And so if you wrote, just for argument's sake, you wrote a science fiction screenplay, they mightn't actually make your science fiction program, but they might bring you in to see, could you write an episode of Doctor Who? And like that again, if you wrote a detective film, you mightn't be up for that, or a police film. They might bring in and write an episode of some other show, like that they were that's specific for your genre. So it's a great resource. So look, I went as far as I could with them, and then as the man said, life takes over. I had 3 children and work, and so I parked everything. I had a lot of stuff written, but I parked it all, and life takes over. And it was only a few years ago I said, you know what, Jesus. But my mother said, she says, do you know, will you ever finish something? You've all these stories and blah blah blah. Finish something before I die. So I said, okay. So I went back to that. I'd written a 6-part TV series called Baxter's Boys, and I said, right, this is what the people want. You know, it's a working class story. It's been described as kind of like, what did one fella recently, one producer, he said it's like the Full Monty if it was written by Guy Ritchie, which I thought was a bit mad, but that's So I had this again 6-part TV series, sent it to the BBC. Look, things is very slow, and I decided then, you know, I'm going to turn it into a book. I'm going to rewrite it in a totally different form, but I have the story. And in fairness, the story has improved over the years. So I'd always say that if anyone has an ambition to write, you know, to write something, write it. You know, like no paper refused ink. You know, get writing. Don't mind editing. Just get writing. And then park it, and then even if you parked it for a month, I guarantee when you go back to it, you know yourself when you're writing your own book, when you park it, go back to it, you will improve on it. You know, you'll be amazed, think, Jesus, that wasn't great, and you'll improve it. But that's part of the process. So I finished Baxter's Boys and got it published through Orla Kelly, a lovely lady based in Cork. She has a publishing house down there, and very lucky. It just seems to have hit a kind of a feel good. You know, it's a story of hope, and it just, I suppose, it came out just a couple of weeks before COVID, before the whole lockdown. So I had big plans for showcasing it and stuff. So the book launch, actually, I had it in a brewery. It was a great place to have a book launch about a team. It's basically a neglected Dublin inner city community and a dysfunctional pub football team that might just be their only hope. The brewery worked out. It was a very good night. I don't know whether knew the book or whatever, but it was, everyone enjoyed themselves. But yes, as I said, it's a story of hope, but it's a social commentary as well. So going back to Boys from the Black stuff, that type of thing, like I love Ken Loach, that kind of stuff. That you know, gritty in parts, but I don't like to bog people down. I like to kind of get a message without being preaching, but I like to get a message across through humor. And I don't, you know, the Dublin wit is dynamite. It's dynamite.
Definitely.
So just I've been very fortunate. That's the kind of that was the start of it. And I actually just got an email today, which was brilliant. So I've been invited to speak at the Dingle Literary Festival in November.
Nice one.
And I also got a place through the Dublin Writers Centre, like a mentorship for this year. So I think they only give out about a 9 every year. So I was very fortunate to grab one of them. I must have told a lot of liars, or a lot of good spoofs. So you know, it's hard work. Like it's hard work to get out there, especially when you're an unknown.
Of course.
But I found a lot of people very supportive in the writing community. But you must work hard yourself. Like as a fella said to me, you have to be an active participant in your own rescue. So if you want something, there's no point. It won't come to you. You must get off your backside and knock on doors, send the emails, do all the hard work, you know, and get going. Even the most established authors, they'll tell you that they still have to do all the PR work. They still have to put in the time. And you know, with a bit of hope, you'll get it there, you know. So as I said, I'd encourage everyone to have a go, but at the same time, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for you know, you really want to give it a good go. But if you do, if there's a chance there.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's brilliant, Patrick. Yeah, you might just show for the people watching on YouTube the book. I think it looks great.
Yeah,
I love the
I don't know,
cover of
can
it.
we see that now? So
Yeah.
that's the Baxter's boys,
Oh yeah.
and then
Cool.
so
It
the
looks like
football
that you were saying
team.
earlier, like that's like the Ballymun Flats, but there's a good story behind that as well.
Yeah, like yeah, there is. Yeah, like that cover and the Bally I had finished writing the book. The Ballymun Towers had been knocked down,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
had to import towers from Estonia for the picture and superimpose them.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, the idea of the story is like I would have grown up in the north inner city, late
yeah.
70s, early 80s. I remember, like I was born 1971 in Garner Street.
Mm,
So for anyone that doesn't know, it's literally about 2 minutes walk from O'Connell Street.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
heroin hit the
Mm,
north inner city very badly, late 70s, early 80s. And it turned local teenagers into zombies overnight, like destroyed.
terrible,
There
terrible.
was obviously very high unemployment,
Mm,
crime rate went through the roof. So
mm,
my dad, we say, and his pals, and then the women of the community decided, we better do something or we're going to lose our kids. So
yeah,
they did fundraisers and they set up a football team. One of the parts of the ways they were trying to build community spirit. They
yeah.
set up a football team called Dorset Boys, because
Okay.
at that stage then we'd moved to Dorset Street, lived in
Yeah,
St Mary's Flats, Dorset Street, former corporation flats, and they were brilliant people. Like they were ordinary workers.
mm,
Everyone was trying to do that bit, and I said the men and the women, they got together, they did little fundraisers and all. So they had this team to try save lads from the community, give
yeah,
them something. And what they also did, what I did twofold as well, is because if you turned up for training and if you played, it showed then you had a bit of commitment and a bit of stamina, and
yeah.
and they used to then try to get them lads jobs.
Very good. Yeah.
So to help to keep them on the straight and narrow. So
Mm,
so the Baxter's Boys is based on that kind of camaraderie
mm,
between a group of guys, and they don't want to be where they're like they end up being dumped in this place, where everyone's just jaded.
mm,
The governments have neglected them. They've given up hope. And next of all, this football team are dropped in to play on this pitch. As your man said, there's a better surface on the moon than their playing pitch. It's in tatters. And they kind of don't really like the community either.
mm.
They're distrustful of the residents and the locals and the teenagers hanging around. But gradually they grow on them, and it's kind of a symbiotic, I suppose, relationship where they both help each other.
Mm.
And we followed them over the course of the season. So that's the idea of
Yeah.
the book and of the cover.
Sounds great. Sounds great, Patrick. And where can people buy your book as well, Patrick? Where it's
Yeah.
on sale?
Right. Well, it's on. Look, I know a lot of people kind of have a being up on about Amazon, and I can understand
Yeah,
that
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
But it's on Amazon. Look, you can get it in Kindle and stuff. And then
yeah.
in fairness, chapters in Parnell Street.
Very good. Yeah.
So literally, I would have been born only up the road. So it was super
Yeah,
to
that's
get the
brilliant. Yeah.
opportunity. And that's a
Great
brilliant
stuff.
shop. And in fairness, the lads, um, that they had the games place in Liffey Street there, they took it over after it closed down. So they've
Yeah.
given a new lease of life. The staff
Nice
were
one.
kept on, so nobody lost out. So they have it now. It's in several bookshops all over the country. I think it's still in Alan
Okay.
Hanna's
Great.
in
Yeah. That mine's there.
Ranelagh, Rathmines,
Yeah. Yeah.
Northside Shopping Centre. It's out there. There's a few places. And just big shout out to Cabra. Like I would have moved then out to Cabra
Mm.
and Centre and Cabra West. They've been great. They've sold loads of books for me, in
Oh,
fairness.
brilliant. Nice one.
And
Yeah.
the Cabra community were brilliant, like in that respect. So
Great stuff.
so
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, it's online, and
Yeah.
there's still real copies in real shops.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? To have the books in the shops, like it's and for me,
Yeah,
like for my own case as well. Like my first children's book is in Alan Hanna's as well, and Mines. It's great to have them in the
yeah.
shops because, like you say, a lot of people wouldn't be crazy about ordering from Amazon.
No,
Yeah,
no, and then one they might be as technologically advanced,
yeah,
and I would
exactly.
be that same person, by the way. And as you said, two people, other people like just to browse and support local.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
yeah. So like no, you can't be local people. You can't be, and
exactly.
true Alan Hanna's and like the Baxter's Boys now, which I find unbelievable that It's now in over 40 libraries all over Ireland.
Brilliant.
And I'd be saying, that's mad, because I loved libraries growing up. Capel
Mm.
Street Library would have been my local library growing up, and then the ILAC Centre. And like, when you're kids, you wouldn't have had a lot of money. You wouldn't be buying books unless they were bought for you as presents. So the libraries, I can't underestimate the importance of libraries. And as I said, I'm in over 40 libraries. Not that the royalties, not that you make much money for having your book in a library. I've never taken any royalties from a library. So it's in there, it's free. I don't want to be making any money out of that, because as I said, growing up, I done very well out of libraries, with all the books I borrowed. So that's my little.
Yeah, it's great to give something back as well. Yeah, it's great to give something back. Definitely, definitely. No, that's great, Patrick. And can I ask as well? Over the last 2 years, have you done much writing, and how did you kind of keep yourself motivated in your writing as well?
Yeah, well, I would have been like, I was fortunate. I work outdoors, like being a horticulturist. So I was off work with COVID. Obviously, the government restrictions where you weren't allowed to travel and all that. Yeah. But I was in for a small period of time, so I wasn't at home for all of that. So that was great. I suppose when I'm out doing some of the more mundane jobs, you say with gardening, because you still have to weed and you still have to do raking.
Yeah.
I'm constantly thinking of the next project. So I got a good bit of writing done. Now, just before lockdown, I write several plays as well. So I love that.
Stuff. Yeah.
I love playwright, the art of playwriting as well, because when you do a play, you're going to get an instant reaction. Hopefully it's a good instant reaction, but you're going to know what people think. Whereas a book, unless people give you a review, you don't really know what people think of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So only through a review. Whereas at a play, if you write a play, as I said, you'll see instantly. So I set up with another lad, Brian Bowler. I set up the Forest Squires Productions, which sounds ever so posh, but it wasn't. We just happened to be in a pub, and it was called Squires, and there was 4 of us, and that's having a drink. So that's how that name came about.
Great, yeah.
But we decided we were going to write plays, short plays, and get local actors, local people involved, and put them on. So just before lockdown, we put on we 3 nights sell out. We sold out for 3 nights. And I put on a play called Barflies, which was basically a gang of insects in a pub having a gargle and talking about life. Yeah, and it was very well received, in fairness. Stuff, so the plan was we were going to put on two plays, two or three plays a year, maybe 2, and then COVID kicked in. So for 2 years we couldn't put on the plays, but I was still writing a few of them.
Oh, brilliant!
So I got the opportunity there. Only a couple of days ago, I got the opportunity to put on one of my new plays in the Culture Club in the Glen Eagle in Killarney. So the world premiere was there only the other day, and bin wars. So about 2 neighbours fighting over wheelie bins through a series of notes with classical music. Sounds mad, but it was mad. But in fairness, the show went really well. There was 3 short plays on the night. Standing ovation, people were laughing, people were having a bit of a crack. So you couldn't ask for more than that. It was a great feel. And the actors that I had were absolutely incredible. All amateur. Incredibles. So I wrote that, and then I've been working on a feature film with a guy called Les Martin. Les Martin he co-wrote another feature film there, just again at the start of the lockdown, called Be Good or Be Gone. And that's about two cousins getting out of Mountjoy on temporary release. Now, people compare it to Adam and Paul, but it's different. It's well worth it. If people haven't seen, it's well worth catching. And the 2 main guys, and they're brilliant. So myself and Les, we've written a feature film called.
It's great.
It's called No Time for Cowboys.
I won't kind of reveal. Sorry,
we're chasing down funding now at the minute.
Oh, very good.
So it's still at that stage. So I won't give away the synopsis yet, but just keep it.
When it is out there, maybe just send me a link and I can.
I will do indeed. Yeah. So look at it's like I write a lot of dark comedy. That's my kind of what I prefer to do.
Yeah.
But this thing is a more serious piece. Now I managed to kind of throw in a small bit of comedy, but it will be a social commentary. You know, it's covering kind of a main issue that's really it's becoming a bigger problem, and it's not spoken about enough, and it needs to be addressed. But as I said, I just can't say about it at the minute until we
fair enough, it's there.
Hopefully secure funding. So that really looking forward to that project, and it's
Yeah.
it's a diversion from my usual bit of comedy.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah,
So I've been busy, busy,
you're a
writing,
busy
you know.
man. Yeah, very good.
And then I have a second book then that I finished, and
very good. Yeah,
I'm just trying to snare the now publisher now for that, and you know yourself. So
and have you got it written and all? It's ready to go, is it?
It was actually it was the feature film that I had written a feature film about 18 years ago, sent it to the BBC. Another dark comedy. So I've taken that back and I've put that now into a book form. Hopefully that someone will read the book and then say, geez, this will make a good film. and get a ball of money and get it made, you know, because it's expensive. Look, a film is expensive.
Oh yeah,
but so it's exciting times. I have a lot of stuff kind of in the pipeline, in the queue, trying to get to give it the time. But I just wanted to finish because I had these plays written during the lockdown. They were kind of next in order, and I said I'd put an effort into getting them done. So I'm hoping to bring them a couple of plays now at a later date, and we're hoping to put them on in Dublin. Either a double bill or a triple bill or whatever you call it.
Yeah, that'd be good. Now the best. I'm looking forward to reading that book myself. Your
Baxter's Boys,
Looking forward to reading that. That's great. Yeah. Well, that's and as well as that, because you're into movies, like, what do you have any favorite kind of movies you like to watch yourself, Patrick? Do you like any?
Yeah. Well, look, as I said, we had the Full Monty. I like that type of. I love that type of film. Like Baxter's Boys now. It's being compared to The Snapper, you know, that, and that's what a classic, you know, and as is The Commitments, and as is The Van, like. But I actually was only at an award thing there last week with Brona Gallagher from The Commitments.
Oh yeah.
You know, Brona is from Derry. She actually popped up in Derry Girls. Really lovely, wonderful woman, brilliant actress. But she was, or actor, wherever the proper term is now, but she had received the Maureen O'Hara Lifetime Award. And so she's a big fan. She's a big fan of the book now as well.
That's great. Yeah.
I got a picture with her with the book. So she's a great fan. She's a big fan.
That's great. Yeah.
But the Snapper,
it sounded like a great book launch there you had, Louis.
That's it. That's it.
But
she was she I have to say she was very warm, very generous with her time.
Oh, nice.
And but so I like comedy. I like dark comedy. I like don't get me wrong, I love the Swords and Sandals kind of epics. I love Gladiator. The Godfather. I love them films. And then I loved with poor old Ray Liotta. Only passing away there. I mean, I loved him as Henry Hill.
Oh, he was great at that. Great,
you know, so I like, I love them gangster films as well.
Oh yeah, class, class.
But there's some brilliant Irish movies. I went down, which I only watched again the other day, which would have had Brendan Gleeson in it. Can't think of the lad that played the young fella in it, but what a film! I mean,
it's a great film,
you know, but so them type of films feel good. Hopefully there's a bit of hope in them.
That's it. Yeah, that's brilliant, Patrick. Thanks very much for coming on. Like, and just to ask it as well, do you have kind of a strategy you use for your writing? Do you kind of write like a certain amount of words a day, or what way would you do it yourself?
Yeah. Well, I suppose when I'm going back to when I'm doing the gardening, you have plenty of time to think. So my biggest problem is I have too many ideas on the go. And then you're like a butterfly flittering from one to the next, and you don't really get anything done. You know, just too much going on the go. So what I do is I try to say, right, what's the next project, and put the effort into that. And then I try to do a story arc. I try to do, right, okay, what's going to happen a general beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mm.
Then I would know the characters that I and I try build up a profile for them characters. So you'd see like a storyboard, and I put up, say Davy Bourne, which we one of the characters from Baxter's Boys, and I kind of, I'd kind of jot down, well, who is he? Relationships, has he girlfriends, partners, mother, father? What does he do as a job? And when you build up that little profile, I find then it helps when you're progressing a story. And then as regards to words, like I'm actually a referee as well with the FBI. I don't get enough abuse at home, but so I snatch, you snatch your moments to write. The weekend you'd probably hope to write a little bit more. But the one thing about writing is it's to get into the habit of writing.
Yeah, definitely.
When you do it, like, or sometimes you might sit down, like you might have an hour boxed off, but you probably only write for 10 minutes of that hour. And the other 50 minutes, it's not wasted because you're processing. Whereas you can't just sit down and write 10 minutes. It might be, if you sit down for an hour, it might be the last 10 minutes is actually when you get writing. Yeah. So what I'd say is I'd encourage people, right? Try do a storyboard. Try get, where do you want the story to finish? Now, as you know, when you start writing, that can change, and that's no problem. That's a natural thing. But as a fellow said to me before, he said, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know your destination, any roads will take you there.
Brilliant.
Right?
That's great. Yeah.
It's super. And just that, right, okay. Well, so if I know I'm leaving Dublin and I want to go to Galway, I now have, so Galway's the end of my book, we'll say, or whatever. I now have, right, I need to get to there. So I can't be going the other way to, going to mainland Europe if I want to go that. I have to be going in that direction. And keeps you on track, keeps you kind of some bit focused. But as I said, there still is a degree of flexibility, which is very, very important. So that's it.
Yeah, that's great, Patrick. No, it's been great having you on, Patrick, and make sure you send me the names of your books and your upcoming book as well, so I can put it on the show notes for people to get, But one other thing just before you go, are you involved in any writers groups? Because I joined the Inkies there, the Inkslingers there, about a year ago. During COVID, it was all online because people all over the world kind of took part then. Have you ever done that yourself? Or
well, I used to be involved in a writing group, but they were a local group. Now they're gone at the minute, but I'm a member of writing.ie. Okay. So I have to say, big shout out to Vanessa O'Loughlin, but she writes as Sam Blake. She writes crime thrillers. And she was actually nominated for one of the Unpost awards there. But she's been brilliant. That writing.ie is a great resource for writers. And they constantly have links and tips and so forth. And then I said, I'm at getting the mentorship program now for this year with the Irish Writers Centre, which is huge. And I'm really looking forward to it. Because I'm allowed to submit, so I'll submit 10,000 words of a project to a specific mentor. So you're getting feedback there, and that's all paid for through I think it's Dublin City Council funds it, and it's all managed through the Irish Writers Centre. But you need to have, like, better be beta readers, or you need to have someone, not just your family, because they'll be saying, "Oh, this is bleeding great." Well, you hope to be saying it's great, exactly, but you need independent. So I've done that. Like I do a bit of reading for other people. I'd look at stuff. So and I as part of that, I've got to meet lots of lovely other authors. And it creates an energy as well. You're given something, and you will get stuff back in spades. So that's important. Put yourself out there. And then with the playwriting, I said that's through the Forest Squires Productions. We've a couple of lads. We'll be back and forth with ideas, and keeps you kind of disciplined. It's not like you have your homework to do, but you have homework, because if you say, right, we're going to meet next week and we'll be swapping the next 1,000 words or whatever, it keeps you on your toes, but it's habit. It's all habit forming, and that's very important.
Big one. Yeah, listen, that's great, Patrick. Patrick Osborne, everybody, thanks a lot for coming on. It's been great talking to you. And
really appreciate you asking me on.
And share all your books, and I'll put them on the show notes. So thanks again, Patrick.
That's brilliant stuff. Thanks very much, Mark. And you, best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening to today's podcast, Mark's Motivational Podcast, Authors Tuesday, with Patrick Osborne. So best of luck, Patrick, and talk to you soon for another podcast. Take care. Thank you.
Super. Thank you.